Here we are again with another ABE update. Thanks for coming back. As you can see, I haven't been anywhere. I'm still in the same room. Um, it could be a hologram, but that's for another conversation. I'm now going to read the one and only message from ABE that we have in September, and it's the final ABE update so far because after this one I do not have any more updates, and it's from late in September. It was received last week, and as I'm recording this, it is Wednesday, September the 28th. This video will go out in October after the previous videos have been released, and I may have more by then or not. But this last message is important, and so it's fitting to finish at this moment on this message. And this message is from Thursday, the 22nd of September. And in fact, I did use this message already in a previous newsletter. I put it out because I considered it an important message to get out as quickly as possible. But I will now also release it as its separate ABE update. So here goes. Thursday, 22nd of September 2022. There's a pressure building up to push past the threshold. It will get your attention to enable you to look in a differing direction and not continuing in the same loop pattern now. It will be allowance on all levels now. For what has been a step stall will now be step relate. But hear this, you will, in the allowance of, see more also, feel more also, this so. A short message. And as perhaps those of you who have listened to my perspective talk on Safe Surfer, I was talking about how we may be receiving more energies upon the planet from the cosmos, as is part of the way of how the cosmic neighborhood works. Our planets receive energy, and at certain times planets receive more energy than others. And this message came through shortly after I gave that talk, and I felt it was related, and it's saying that there's a pressure building to push you past the threshold. Well, there's a lot of pressure building right now across the planet. We know that because of all the chaos, the dissonance, the disruption, the manufactured narratives, the fear that's being created. We know that there's so much going on with geopolitical events, with the breakdowns in supply chains and resources, and there's a great pressure coming onto humanity, not just physically through these resources, but psychologically, emotionally, energetically, and I think we're all feeling it. We're feeling it, and a lot of people are feeling the stress, the angst, the anxiety, the uncertainty, wavering between apathy and frustration and wanting to act. And it's like we're in a pressure cooker, and so far we've been in a slow burning pressure cooker, but it feels like now the energy's come up and it's really pushing against the lid of the pressure cooker. And so why is that building of pressure? And ABE says to pass beyond a threshold, to pass beyond a tipping point. And as we know in kind of complex systems, we need a buildup of energy to pass a certain tipping point. And ABE says it will get your attention to enable you to look in a differing direction and not continuing in the same loop pattern now. I found that significant also because a lot of our world attention is being deliberately focused onto the chaotic events. Like a kind of chaos attractor, it attracts all the attention and the energy. So we're looking over there, we're looking at the geopolitical happenings and the national aggression and all all these maneuverings in the world, and as we say, the supply chain breakdowns. And that's a loop pattern because, you know, what we see and being told, we perceive that. And what we perceive, we experience that. And what we experience, we create our belief systems out of. And then what we create our belief systems out of, we perceive. And what we perceive, we experience. And what we experience, we then reinforce the same belief system, which reinforces the same loop pattern. So we're in this loop pattern because of external events creating this kind of attractor that gets us into the loop. But Abe says this pressure, which will push us past the threshold, will also create a shift in our perception and perceptual awareness and our attention, and we'll be looking in a different direction, not continuing in the same loop pattern. We'll be able to pull out of this loop pattern and perceive it for what it is, i.e. a loop distractor, and we will be able to perceive something different, which is very important, because if we wish to evolve now as a species, we need to bring our perceptions and our awareness out of these loop belief patterns of experiences. Otherwise, we'll be just like a hamster, or a mouse, running around the same wheel. We need to get out of this loop pattern. And this buildup of pressure may enable us to pass through a threshold where we can snap out of this loop, like snapping out of a trance. It will be allowance on all levels now, says Abe. Allowance, as we know, refers to the allowance of consciousness. If it's on all levels, there's an awareness of these differing levels of consciousness as part of our life experience. And what has been a step stall, a stall like no movement, stagnation, what has been a step stall, because we're stuck in this loop, humanity is stuck in this perceptual loop pattern, will be a step relate. We'll start to perceive our conscious relationships with different elements of the world, of reality. It may be different relations with cosmic energies and states of consciousness and perceptual realities. So hear this, you will, in the allowance of, see more also and feel more also. So perhaps this feel more and see more means our perceptual capacities have opened up now that we've broken out of this loop pattern, this kind of simulation trap. We'll be able to perceive more and feel more of the greater reality, and that will allow us to evolve further past the threshold. These are my interpretations of that short message from Abe, because I feel it's significant, and I feel there's a lot of information in those few lines which pertain to the potential future of humanity, and that we need this buildup of energy. This buildup of energy will enable humanity to push beyond a point where we can snap out of this loop pattern, which has been a kind of perceptual delusion. And if we get no more updates from Abe, I do feel that that's a fitting one to finish on. A few words, a lot of meaning. And if I don't see you again down the line with any more Abe updates, then I'll meet you somewhere else. Thanks for bearing with me from reaching this point, and wherever you are, be well. Cheers.